Yesterday wasn't a victory. Donald Trump appearing for arraignment in Miami for the document scandal, that's no victory, at least not yet. The real victory is when he's actually convicted. But the real problem is that after the arraignment, Donald Trump went home to New Jersey and he decided to have a campaign rally and another fundraiser, all for the hopes of trying to cash in on this notoriety. But yesterday he decided to declare war on American democracy. And obviously we know that he still hates the fact that he lost in 2020. And it's unfortunate that we have people out there who are screaming, hoff and hollering that they'll still vote for him even if he's convicted. So what I'm about to read you, a friend of mine sent me this on Facebook, mind you. What I'm about to read you is sort of a, let's call it a reminder of who Donald Trump is. And this video is going to be incredibly long, but honestly, we need to remind everyone what Trump is and what he's capable of, and the things that he's done as President of the United States, and why we need to vote against him. So as Keith Oben would say, here is the story so far. Trump adds $7.8 trillion to the national debt in 4 years. Trump lost 2.9 million American jobs under his watch. During the first week of his administration, he promised to make sure energy pipelines were made of American iron and steel. But he never followed through with those promises, and workers lost jobs in pipe and tube mills. Nearly 1,800 factories disappeared between 2016 and 2018, the Trump years. Under Trump, retail jobs lost over 600,000 jobs. During his presidency, Trump told over 30,000 false or misleading statements during his presidency, which means the man lied every time he got in front of a podium. Trump intentionally lied about the seriousness of the COVID pandemic to the American people and downplayed the seriousness of it as well. Trump appointed internet nut jobs to high-level positions of power, as you can see from these photos of who he appointed. Trump instigated and pushed a violent insurrection to overthrow a fair and democratic election in the hopes of staying in power. He did nothing to stop the insurrection, and more to the point, has done everything he can to shift blame away from himself, which he has failed to do in worse ways than one. Trump rolled back over 100 environmental laws and regulations. Trump withdrew the United States from the Paris Climate Accords. Trump divided this country more than any other president has in history. By way of, for instance, when the George Floyd tapes were actually exposed to the American people, he didn't unite the country screaming for justice for George Floyd and others for police brutality. When cities started going to riots, he didn't ask for unity and to calm people down. He was weighing options of sending the National Guard in order to quell it. Donald Trump surrounded himself with criminals and liars. Say the photos I said about him appointing idiots to his cabinet. Trump's tax cuts only helped the top 1% of Americans who don't even work, but no help for the working class American. Trump has lied and has continued to lie about the 2020 election results, even though numerous evidence suggests that there was no voter fraud or foreign interference. In fact, the only voter fraud seems to be pointing in the Trump camp. Trump passed anti-LGBTQ laws, including a ban of transgendered people serving in the United States military. And the excuse is obviously the most flimsiest of the ones, saving money for care for the LGBTQ, when it's nothing more than pure, unadulterated bigotry. Trump constantly attacks the free press, calling them, among other things, the enemy of the American people, as if he were Hitler or Stalin. Trump withdrew from the Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement, costing more American dollars and more American jobs. Trump mocked ethnic groups and the disabled. Do I need to remind you of the press conference he gave or the rally he gave, mocking the physical deformities of a reporter? Do I need to remind you of shithole countries? Under Trump's watch, America lost over 237,000 manufacturing jobs. Under Trump, the United States dropped from 86% to 83% on the Freedom House scale. Now here's some huge ones. Trump tried to coerce Ukraine and other foreign countries into providing damaging and false information about then Democrat presidential candidate Joe Biden. Obviously, he was impeached for that, an impeachment that should have been his conviction. Trump enlisted surrogates within and without his official administration, including his personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, and of course the Attorney General, Billy Barr, to pressure Ukraine and other foreign governments to cooperate in his supporting conspiracy theories concerning American politics. That in itself should be not only impeachable, but treason. Donald Trump is the only president of the United States history to be impeached twice, both of which should have ended his presidency. But thanks to a Republican-led Senate, it didn't happen. Trump referred to fallen American soldiers as losers and suckers, saying that to a former military general, over the grave of his son. Trump also mocked the late Senator John McCain, who spent more than 5 years as a POW in North Vietnam. Quoting Donald Trump himself, "He's not a war hero. I like people who weren't captured." He said this in 2015 during the campaign. Trump referred to the more than 1,800 Marines who lost their lives at Belleau Wood as suckers for getting killed. His words, suckers. In the wake of the George Floyd tapes being made public, Donald Trump had peaceful protesters tear-gassed and removed from outside the White House so he could have a photo op at a church, St. John's Church nearby, that he has never attended, holding the Bible in his hand that he's never read in his entire life. Trump was banned from Twitter and Facebook for dangerous, unpresidential tweets that resulted in the January 6th attack. Trump has shown that he has a flagrant disregard for the law by pardoning war criminals, by pardoning Blackwire contractors who massacred Iraqi unarmed citizens, including women and children. At the same time, Donald Trump has praised dictators like Vladimir Putin, who has continuously attacked this country cyberly and has threatened this country more than once with nuclear weapons, and Kim Jong-un, who has repeatedly threatened this country with nuclear weapons. Trump signed an executive order in 2017, signing off on the Keystone XL pipeline, which would pump Canada's most dangerous oil products over nearly 1,200 miles of U.S. land in indigenous territories, largely for export. One of my big ones. At the white supremacist rally at Charlottesville, according to Donald Trump, there were very fine people on both sides of the protests. One side of that protest was made up of neo-Nazis and white supremacists chanting, "Jews will not replace us." And the other side were made up of a racial diverse group protesting these scumbags. Trump refused at a presidential debate with President Biden he refused to condemn white supremacy and told the Proud Boys, quote, "Stand back, stand by," unquote. Trump and his team practiced their very first professional gaslighting by insisting that the crowds gathered at his inauguration was the largest ever, despite extensive photographic evidence to the contrary. Later it emerged of what a government photographer had edited photos to make the crowds appear bigger. This is according to a Guardian investigation. Donald Trump repeatedly calls Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas. Seriously? Well, are you freaking 5? Trump penalized sanctuary cities for migrants by threatening to withhold federal funds for them. Trump repeatedly said he wanted to trade Greenland for Puerto Rico, which he said reportedly called dirty and poor. In 2017, he gave a speech in Long Island to members of the Suffolk County Police Department. He seemed to encourage roughing up suspects, and I quote, saying, "When you guys put someone in the car and you're protecting their head, you know, the way you put their head and put it over their head, don't hit the head they just killed somebody, don't hit their head." I said, "You can take the hand away, okay? Don't be too nice." The remarks themselves drew such criticism that Suffolk County itself had to tweet a rejoinder. Trump removed protections for trans students, which allowed them to use the bathroom corroborating with their gender identity. Trump stopped funding for the UN Population Fund, which supports family planning across the globe. Trump nominated a climate change skeptic, Kathleen Hart White, to the chair of the committee advising the White House on environmental policy. That makes a lot of sense. Appointing someone who's skeptic about climate change to advise the president about climate change. Trump removed protection status from 59,000 Haitians, forcing them to return to a disaster-ridden Haiti by July 2019. Remember when he said about shithole countries, yet he did nothing to help them? Trump cut corporate taxes to their lowest since 1939, increasing taxes on the working man. Trump accused Democrats of treason, not because they engaged in treasonous activity, because they refused to applaud him during the 2018 State of the Union address. Trump oversaw the longest government shutdown in American history between December 22nd, 2018 to January 25th, 2019. Almost nothing in the United States happened due to the longest shutdown, to that shutdown. And why was this shutdown happening? Because of his funding for the wall. Trump separated children from their parents at the U.S.-Mexico border. Evidence emerged that migrant children literally being placed in cages at one of Trump's controversial detention facilities. Under Trump, corporate profits went up 8.5%. But also under Trump, nearly 3 million Americans lost health insurance. The trade deficit increased to its highest rate in 40 years, in years to 40.5%, and home prices increased to 27.5%. Trump actually edited a video to make it look like he won the Nobel Prize. Trump signed a travel ban for the Muslim people to travel to the United States from 7 Muslim-majority nations for 90 days. The citizens of the countries of Iraq, Syria, Iran, Sudan, Libya, and Somalia and Yemen suddenly found themselves unable to enter America. Coincidentally, this travel ban didn't apply to citizens of countries where he has business dealings with, and more to the point, the country whose 19 citizens attacked us on September 11, 2001. Trump vetoed the bipartisan National Defense Authorization Act, vetoing a $741 billion military spending and a 3% pay raise for our military troops. So much for supporting the troops, right? Trump mocked, as I said earlier, a New York Times reporter in front of a crowd saying, well, I'm not even going to repeat what he said, and before he jerked his arms back and forth, holding his right arm at one angle, and intimated the reporter was physically disabled. They couldn't remember what he said. That should have ended his presidential campaign. Trump spent considerable time at his own properties and golf clubs, subsequently raising their profits and even making money from the federal government along the way. Trump's company billed the United States government of millions of dollars, including for Secret Service agents to stay at his properties while protecting him. Let's come up to date, shall we? Trump has a sexual battery lawsuit against him by E. Jean Carroll on May 9th, and a jury of 6 men and 3 women found Trump liable for sexual assault and battery and defamation. E. Jean Carroll was awarded $5 million in damages and is pondering the possibility of suing Donald Trump again, as well as the CNN network, for allowing the Donald Trump's town hall, to continue to defame E. Jean Carroll. Donald Trump was just indicted not too long ago in New York State about paying hush money to a porn star using campaign funds. Donald Trump is investigated and is most likely going to be indicted for election interference, his phone calls to the Georgia Secretary of State. And most important recently, Donald Trump has been indicted, arraigned with 37 felony charges in Florida, including 31 charges under the Espionage Act of willful retention of classified records. This is the man who a lot of these people are screaming they want back as president of the United States. Just only a day ago, someone told me on Facebook, why shouldn't he get payback? Why shouldn't he get revenge? Why shouldn't he get retribution? My simple answer is that retribution, revenge, that's not the democratic way. That's not the democracy way. That's not the American constitutional way. The only kind of leaders who want to get retribution and revenge are leaders in dictatorships, autocracies. They're screaming that Donald Trump's arrest yesterday in Miami was the first step in going towards communism. This isn't communism. This is holding Donald Trump accountable for the things he's done. If he regains the office of presidency next year, we'll be going to full-blown fascism. An America where everything goes, where anything can go. We saw that in the first 4 years in the presidency of Donald Trump. I gave you a whole list in this video. Imagine what would happen if fascism came to this country. Imagine what would happen if you see Trump flags flying all over the country. Matter of fact, the perfect example I can give you is watch the movie Valkyrie with Tom Cruise. It made me sick to my stomach seeing the Nazi flag almost everywhere you look, in almost every scene of the movie. We saw the Nazi flag fly in America, the Charlottesville March, where they said Jews will not replace us. I do not want to see that shit again. And I will fight to the death to keep that from happening. But his followers, they could care less. And these are the people who are going to vote for Donald Trump in the next election. We better start caring right now, because the end result of that kind of experiment of Donald Trump being returned to power is the end of American democracy, the end of that document which so many Donald Trump supporters say they worship and they see as holy writ, the Constitution of the United States. Someone told me that we were more free under Donald Trump. No, we weren't. We weren't free at all against Donald Trump. If he goes back in power, this country will die. Free speech, dead. Freedom of religion, dead, unless you happen to be white Christian evangelistic nationalists. Freedom won't be free anymore under a Donald Trump regime. He's made that abundantly clear. His supporters in and out of government have made that abundantly clear. We need to outrun them and outnumber them in the ballot box. Get your friends, get your teachers, get your family members, get them all. Drag them to the polls if you have to. Now, I'm not saying Joe Biden is the perfect president. No, he's not. There are so many things I can say about Biden, but he never put our country at risk. Donald Trump and his supporters have. Let me count actually, I already named the ways. Do not let this happen. If Trump regains power, America dies. Pure and simple. Don't let it happen. CTP, you know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.